let's take a moment to talk about our sponsor.
Are you a veteran DM with more campaign ideas than prep time? Yeah, of course you are. Aren't we all? Does your party have a habit of going to the person or place that you would least expect? If they're like my group, they sure do. What if I were to tell you that I could put a team of professional writers alongside you at your desk to cut down on your campaign prep? What if I were to tell you that you could bring them along with you at your game sessions for when those pesky players go off the rails? Sounds pretty good, huh? With Describe, we could do just that. These narratives vividly describe monsters, places, spells, people, you name it. It's there. And there are more than 6,000 of these easy to search up, copy and pastable, beautifully written narratives right at your fingertips. I've been running games for the better part of 40 years, and I must admit, I've gotten a bit lazy. I just don't have the time I used to. And I've been using Terrain, which is minimizing my need for descriptive narratives. Stuff is right out there in front of you. Why describe it? When I was prepping for an Acorn's Journey, a D&D story, I used Describe quite a bit. When you listen, you can hear it. One of the things I like the most about Describe is that if the narrative doesn't fit perfectly with your encounter, it's easy to modify while still sounding really good. I did that an awful lot. I think this makes the more than 6,000 narratives that they have available for you even more valuable. It almost doubles what you have at your fingertips. You should give it a shot. Describe has graciously provided us with a discount for our listeners. Head on over to describe.com/DMD. That's DSCRYB.com/DMD. Use the code DMD at checkout to try Describe for 2 weeks free. Links will be in the show notes.
And now, back to the show.
Greetings and salutations, DMs, GMs, referees, judges, game operations directors, and all other varieties of storytellers. This is your DM, Scott, and it's time for another DM Quick Tip. It's Explain the Plane. What is the Ethereal Plane? This week we're talking about the Ethereal Plane. This is our second transitive plane. In my games, I stick with the Great Wheel cosmology. I know it's changed, but this works for me, so I'm not changing things up. So when I talk about the ethereal plane, or any other plane for that matter, I'm using the Great Wheel cosmology model. And this may be out of date for some of you folks that are just coming in at 4th, 5th edition, or maybe even earlier editions. I don't know when it changed. The ethereal plane exists right next door to and around the prime material plane. And it connects the prime material plane to the inner planes, which are the elemental planes and those energy planes. It touches the prime material plane at all points. These places where the prime material plane and the ethereal plane touched are referred to as the border ethereal. Some people speculate that the border ethereal made contact with the prime material plane through the phlogiston, but that is yet to have been proven. We've already established that everything that touches the prime material plane is referred to as the border ethereal. The rest, all that stuff in the middle of the ethereal plane, is referred to as the deep ethereal. The mists within the ethereal plane fill every part of the plane. No matter where you go in the plane, those mists are going to always be present. And these mists are believed to be a residue of materials from the planes it connects to. While traveling the border ethereal, one could see into the plane next to them. This vision would only be a shadowy version of the plane. I like to think of it almost as the same way the world looked when Frodo put the ring on. In my games, I describe it as a black and white vision of the adjacent plane. This black and white version of the plane is not only colorless, but it also looks like you're viewing it at dusk. You're unable to communicate with this adjacent plane, but those looking into the border ethereal will be able to see you and you them. This is one of the only planes where you can simultaneously exist on the border ethereal and another plane, particularly the one that you're traveling to. While in the ethereal plane, you and all your possessions become ethereal. Much like the astral plane, traveling the ethereal plane is by sheer force of will. The thought of travel produces travel. There is an up and down to the ethereal plane, but there's no gravity here. Drop an item and it would simply hover next to you. In the astral plane, the portal to other planes appear as pools of twinkling colors.
On the ethereal plane, portals to the other planes appear as kind of a misty curtain of colors. And each plane has its own unique colored curtain. Now, time works differently when you pass into the ethereal plane, specifically the deep ethereal. Now, remember, we're using the great wheel cosmology and not the world tree cosmology. For every hour you spend in the ethereal plane, 10 hours pass on the other side of whatever curtain you use to enter the ethereal plane. Inside the deep ethereal, you may find swirling globs of protomatter. Someone on the internet described this as a giant cosmic lava lamp, but I think that is a perfect description for the deep ethereal. These globs of protomatter will at times grow. When they reach a certain size, a demi-plane could be born. This will happen naturally, but a powerful being or entity could manipulate this protomatter using their power or magic to build their own demi-plane. How these demi-planes look or behave vary, and oftentimes they will collapse within themselves, being somewhat unstable, or they may merge with the prime material plane or whatever plane is adjacent to them. You're probably listening to all this and thinking, mists, ethereal forms? Is this how one would travel to Ravenloft and the other domains of dread? Yeah, if you subscribe to the Great Wheel cosmology in your games. In the Great Wheel cosmology, the domains of dread were part of the ethereal plane. Today, they are in a remote area of the Shadowfell. So how do you get to the ethereal plane? Well, you could cast etherealness, gate, and plane shift to get there. Oil of etherealness and armor of etherealness are other temporary ways to travel there. Oh, I almost forgot. You're probably wondering about crystal spheres. You will come across crystal spheres in the ethereal plane. These spheres are massive shells that surround an entire planetary system. Imagine our solar system in a snow globe without the snow. These shells separated the planetary system from the stuff outside of it, like the phlogiston. This is a topic all to itself. We might talk more about these at a later time. Now, there are many ways you can explain the plane, but this is my way. See you next time in the dojo.